Nate Oates. When we're not playing, I watch Field of 68's the After Dark show.
This is Coach Bruce Pearl. I love the Field of 68 After Dark show.
This is Duke head coach John Shire. Check out Field of 68 After Dark.
This is Xavier head coach Sean Miller. I highly encourage you to take a look at After Dark.
Now listen to you guys every morning when I'm getting ready. This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Oh, yes, it is Field of 68 After Dark on this Thursday, February the 9th, 2023. Sean Miller checks in the mail because he's a Field of 68 cast member till he dies, giving us a great word among all those coaches. Our new intro, shout out to our producers, Trevor Valise and Dagan Hughes, for all that they do. Love that intro. It is fire coming out on a Thursday night. It's good stuff. I'm John Fanta. Patric Young's with us. LaVall Jordan's with us. Fellas, it's a Thursday night where the slate wasn't exactly loaded up with a ton of games, but we did see the number one team in the country, and that's where we begin. Coming up in just mere moments, we'll talk with Caleb Furst of Purdue, who had his third double-double of the season tonight as Purdue was back in action against Iowa, and the Boilers were looking to do what's been rare this year for them, respond from a loss. They did it, 87-73. They beat the Hawkeyes. They get to 23-2 on the year. And it's amazing, LaVall Jordan, because the question that we asked coming into this season was, what is this backcourt going to look like exactly? And with a fella who had number 196 next to him in the class recruiting rankings, his name is Braden Smith, and he is not 196. Right now, he's as good of a freshman guard that you're going to find in the country. 24 points tonight, 5 assists. How has a freshman been able to thrive to the degree Smith has at Purdue?
It's a couple things, John. Like, one, you would have to know. Yeah, he's an Indiana kid. He's from Indianapolis area, Westfield High School. And he was a really good player there. And, a lot of coaches didn't get to see him. You talk. What did COVID do? So Braden, because obviously we were right there in Indianapolis, but COVID hits and you can't see guys play. You can't see anybody play for, a whole high school season, the end of the high school season and the whole summer and into the next season, right? So if you hadn't seen him when he was younger, you didn't get to see him through the COVID, and then he commits to Purdue early, and obviously – you could watch film, and that was the COVID recruiting process. But Mr. Basketball in Indiana, he's a tough kid, man, mentally tough, and believes in himself. He doesn't lack confidence at all. And so that's one. Two is he doesn't have to do what he did tonight every night, right? He's take care of the basketball, run the sets and get the ball to the most unguardable player in college basketball this year, and then and step up and make shots. So he's got a really good role for a freshman. It's tough because unless you're Brandon Miller, like if everything's on you as a freshman every night, now he's got to take care of the ball, and that's a tough job, point guard in Purdue. But he's, Matt's done a great job of just guiding him through it and letting him find his way. He and Fletcher, and both of them have been phenomenal. For young players, and they've carried them at times, each of them, and that's a compliment to their staff, their evaluation, their development. I know those guys really well, and I know how they do their work. And I would say this, from a leadership standpoint, to see Zach Edey step in front of the microphone for Braden Smith the other night,
yes, and
stand up for his point guard, the freshman, and then see the freshman pay the big fella back tonight is pretty big time. They're double teaming. So, Fran had to pick his poison. He said, we're going to double and not let Edey beat us. And, so from a leadership, just what you want to see from your team when they have each other's backs is like, that's awesome to see.
Patric, what's the thing that's impressed you the most about Purdue?
Ooh. The thing that's impressive, it has to be the guard play, the backcourt, their ability to continue to get better as the season is going on with being so young, being full of freshmen and Fletcher Lawyer. His ability as he's expanded you can just see his confidence from the beginning of the season to where they are now, how well they run their sets, how well they're coached. It's not a one-horse pony when it comes to Purdue, and Zach Edey is a unicorn when we're talking about a one-horse pony and his ability to just find space, score over whomever, be the first one to the ball on rebounds. But the way that, because of his dominance, I believe it's created space for his guards to grow into their roles because he demands such attention. And as we can see tonight, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Caleb Hurst, all just trending in the right direction at the right time. Of course, coming off of a loss against a really tough Indiana team. Is in the Big Ten, it's hard to win on the road. I mean, that's almost any league, but especially when you have so many teams that are projected to make the tournament.
Especially that place, Patrick.
Especially in that place.
That was the last time they beat a number one team since 2013. I was on the other bench of the number team they beat in 2013. We went there with Michigan.
Okay, I thought it was the Kentucky game.
We were 1 and they were 3. And like, you walk in there number 1 in Assembly Hall in Bloomington. I mean, it was the loudest place I've ever been. So I know what they just walked into.
I remember Christian Watford.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was
huge shot
of his life right there. But yeah, for sure, that's got to be. And Iowa did a great job with their press tonight. 17 turnovers they forced Purdue into, and still Purdue ran away with this win. It got tight at one point in the second half. I think they cut it to 7 or 5. I can't remember what it was, but just a flurry of offense and defense on both sides. Zach Edey, he was pretty quiet in the first half. That second half, his dunk, hook shot, dunk, I think a 3, and then it was back to 15, just like that.
The thing, John, that I've been impressed with is to what Patrick said. Yeah, the young guards for sure, but them defensively, like the first half tonight, to hold Tony Perkins is coming off a 30 ball.
Yes.
Right, and to hold Iowa to 1 3-pointer in the first half, and obviously they don't foul. So here's the issue: you have to score from the field. And because Edey's back there, he has more block shots on the season than he has fouls. so isn't
that interesting?
So Iowa doesn't shoot a free throw the entire first half. So on the road, Patrick, right, that's part of the formula to quiet the crowd down, get to the foul line, just to try to take some of the juice out of the building. But they don't foul, and so you have to score. But you can't get to the paint because Edey's in there. And I thought, their defenses for those young guys to be able to pick up defensively, as much as they're doing on offense, has been really impressive.
Purdue goes to 12-2 in the Big Ten. They're 4 up in the win column in the race. They're 3 up in the loss column. They are clearly going to run away with a conference regular season title. Then the Big Ten is jumbled. We'll get to that here in a moment. But the Boilermakers, they win this game 87-73. And you think about the direction that they've been going in here. We said on Saturday night that the feeling that should take away is that we've learned about them more in the last week than maybe the 3 or 4 previous to that. We welcome all of you to SiriusXM College Channel 84. John Fanta here with you for the Field of 68 After Dark with the coach LaVall Jordan, with Patric Young. We just wrapped up the Gonzaga game here on SiriusXM Channel 84. The Zags get their 20th win of the year and move to 9-2 in WCC play as they beat San Francisco 99-88. So 99-81 rather. So we welcome all of you who just listened to Gonzaga and San Francisco. John Fanta, LaVall Jordan, Patric Young with you. And guys, we'll talk Zags a little bit later in the show. We begin tonight, folks, on the Field of 68 After Dark with the Purdue Boilermakers. We've been talking about their win over Iowa, 87-73. And the take that I have, gentlemen, is when you're dominating and winning at the level they have been in the Big Ten, of course, you're not going to frown about any of that or think about any of it. But on Saturday, on a day where their guards didn't always have it, the way that they fought at Indiana, and they were right in it. Now, they fell, they lost, but it felt like there could be positives to take from that loss. And tonight, how would they respond? They responded emphatically. The Purdue Boilermakers are a freight train. They have the best player on the planet. They have one of the best 5 coaches in college basketball.
Best college basketball player on the planet.
Yeah. Best college basketball player on the planet, for sure. We know that we could talk about those other players, but best college basketball player on the planet, one of the best 5 coaches in the sport, in a backcourt that has exceeded any and all expectations. Now, a monster inside has to do something with that, but it's also the system at which Matt Painter plays that allows for them to achieve this type of success. There are no holes to this team. And I think you brought it up, LaVall. The defensive tenacity of Purdue makes them different from just any Purdue team.
Yeah, to see them improve from last year to this year, obviously, Edey had to get better, better in his pick and roll coverages. He got himself in shape, well conditioned this year. But the really impressive part is the young guards, right? Typically, that's who you're going to pick on is freshman guards. And you know that, Patrick. Like you're trying to find those guys, and again, they can funnel things to Zach Edey, so that's a luxury, right? But I thought the Indiana game, what was as good as Indiana played, and they were impressive in the win. For Smith and Lawyer, it wasn't like they weren't shook, Patrick.
No.
They just missed shots. They were as fearless as they always are and played with the same amount of courage. They just didn't make them. But it wasn't like they, how you see a team on the road and they're shook. You dribble the ball off your foot or, afraid to take a shot. It wasn't that. They just didn't make them that night. And then obviously they stepped up tonight and made them at home again. But that was the impressive thing about the Indiana losses. It wasn't like they were afraid. Indiana got up big, they battled back, but I didn't really think they were rattled. They just didn't make their shots.
Mm-hmm. We've got Caleb Furst coming up on the show in our second segment. Purdue winning tonight over Iowa, 87-73. The Boilermakers clearly the class of the country. I thought it was rather fitting, Patrick, that they stayed as the number 1 team in the nation, even after a loss. I mean, that speaks volumes too, and you could see why they stayed number 1 here tonight.
Yeah, it's not like Purdue had a 27 point loss that Alabama had against Oklahoma.
True.
Something along those lines on the road. Top 20 team in Indiana, a hard fought battle. I think it's pretty easy choice to understand why they would stay in that overall number 1 seed spot. The Houston's conference just isn't strong enough, not a strong enough win to just. I think if it's similar to a boxing match, when you beat when you're going against the champ, you can't just be even with them. You got to prove that you deserve the trophy, you deserve the belt. You have to beat them down, and no one's proven that. That hasn't happened to Purdue thus far. Both their losses very close, right in the mix of those games. A team that is, Zach Edey had 33 and 18 in that Indiana game. Just to LaVall's point, Braden Smith had 4, just did knock down shots that game, and Hutch Schifino, he played out of his mind. He probably wasn't the X factor guy on the scouting report that day, but whenever you get an opportunity for the number 1 team to come into your place, you're going to be juiced up for that chance of getting higher seeding in the tournament.
LaVall, I guess they're the clear-cut number 1, right? I mean, we've all, I think, determined that. But if they aren't, who would it be in your book?
You mean overall number 1 seed in the tournament? Or are you talking?
I'm talking best team in the country.
I don't know if it's hard to, there's no, this year, it's not like, you remember you had the Wichita State team that was undefeated a few years back in Kentucky. it's just not that this year. There's so much parity, and everybody has kind of fallen at some point. I think there's a group at the top, but I don't know if there's a standout other than Purdue. I don't know if there's a standout, just team. Houston's really good. Alabama that's where I would probably go next with Alabama, just defensively and offensively, the way that Nate has those guys playing. And then Brandon Miller is phenomenal. So I would probably go to Alabama next in terms of just teams that have kind of separated from the rest of the group in terms of their body of work. That'd probably be my next lean, for next, the best team, arguably number one, right there in that top three group. That makes Patrick happy that he's an SEC guy.
Well, it's just hard for me to argue for Houston to be number one when their last ranked matchup, I'm saying anybody ranked, was Virginia December 17th, and they don't play any other ranked games for the rest of the season. And
they lost to Alabama.
That was before, but that was before. That was the 10th. They lost to Alabama the 10th, and they beat Houston, or they beat Virginia. They beat Virginia on the 17th of December. Then after that, it's been nothing but unranked matchups, and they lost the Temple, lost the Temple at home earlier this year. But yeah, it's hard for me to make the argument with a team in a mid-major conference.
You're coming out swinging, calling the American a mid-major. Now, here's the thing but you know what? You're not wrong, because the fact is it's just not performing at the level that it was made out to be. I mean, the fact is the Mountain West is better than the American. There's no question, not even remotely a question about that. The American's not a top 6, top 7 league. It's probably 8th, 9th. I mean, if you look at things. So it's going to be funny because Houston is the team that I think we all are giving the benefit of the doubt to make a deep March run, because Marcus Sasser and Jarris Walker, Jamal Shedd, the toughness level, Kelvin Sampson, they've got so many things going for them. But let's face it, they're not as clear-cut, pinpoint to evaluate because of the league that they play in. We're going to get to championship tiers tonight. We've got that coming up. That list is coming up in our third segment. But for now, we take a timeout. You're listening to Field of 68 After Dark, presented by Bet Rivers, Sirius XM, Channel 84.
You're clear.
Trevor, chat's open. What's up?
What's up, guys? First of all, somebody in the chat said John Fanta is the overall number one, not Purdue. Just had to throw that out there. Sam wants to know, is Matt Painter...
I agree with that.
I ain't number one in nothing, but we appreciate that. I appreciate that. What questions do we have? I want to hear some questions from the chat.
Sam wants to know if you guys think Matt Painter is the no doubt national coach of the year.
No, not no doubt. No, I don't think that. I think he's in the group that's gonna be considered. You got Jerome Tang with what he's done this year. It's been phenomenal. I think Bill Self's still right there with what he's done this year. Shaka Smart, what he's done in the Big East. If they win the Big East, so I think there's some other guys. Paint's in the conversation, but I don't think it's a no-brainer when you're talking. Jerome Tang's probably no-brainer. Just nobody expected Kansas State to be what they are, but Purdue's consistency.
30 seconds.
Paint's right there.
It's got to be Matt Painter right now, because 23-2, and to think that heading into the year, it's not like people thought this team was going to win the Big Ten. In fact, the consensus was that they would take a somewhat significant step back.
True.
Let's see. We're going to come on the break, and we'll jump into Caleb first. It's the Field of 68 After Dark on a Thursday night. John Fanta, LaVall Jordan, Patric Young with you. We're presented by Bet Rivers. Hey, you can check out our merchandise. We've got all kinds of shirts online. Field68.shop. Check out the daily as well. Subscribe to Mike Miller's daily newsletter, where you can get everything you need to know every single morning just after 8 a.m. It's your college hoops fix every day. Hey, let's get the fix on Caleb Furst. He was fantastic tonight. A double-double performance for Purdue in their win over Iowa. We often talk about Zach Edey. We've talked about the freshman guards, but there's a sophomore here. And LaVall Jordan's going to tell us more about him after our conversation. But here's my one-on-one with Caleb Furst, who might get you craving for some fourth meal in your car. The Purdue are 23-2 on the season, and the top-ranked Boilers bounced back tonight, an 87-73 win over Iowa. With his third double-double of the season, we welcome in Caleb Furst after the win. Caleb with 11 points, 10 rebounds. And Caleb, when you've had a season with so much winning, what was the last 72 hours like? And perhaps how much is it beneficial maybe that you guys were able to go through a loss against Indiana and almost refocus, regroup to then get back in the Big Ten and get back in the win column?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously you never want to lose. And so we just kind of focused on, going into this game. Obviously you want to get, kind of that bad taste out of your mouth from losing. And so, but at the end of the day, it's the Big Ten. In a league like this, whether you win or you lose, the next day you got to lock in on the next opponent because it's coming up quick. And so that's, just kind of what we had to do with Iowa.
87 points tonight for an offense that has been churning. And look, you've got the best player on the planet in college basketball in Zach Edey. Braden Smith, 24 points, 5 assists tonight. How would you describe him and what he's meant?
Yeah, he's such a great player. His confidence, I would say, is one of the aspects of his game that sticks out to me the most. I remember last year, me being a freshman, I didn't have that type of confidence. And just to be able to see him, come into the game and do the things that he does, and lead us as a point guard, it's a huge hope for us.
A double-double for you tonight. What's been your approach to your role? And I'm curious, as a guy who's 6'10", playing alongside a monster who's 7'4",
mm-hmm.
How much has that made you better? And what's life like when you're playing with someone of that unique stature?
Yeah, with most dudes it'd probably be terrible, but with Zach, he makes it so easy with how good he is and with the way that he just commands so much attention. And then we trust him always to make the right read, whether it's scoring, getting a little dump down pass, passing out for like a kick out three. So with just his smarts and the way he plays and the way that we can trust him, to kind of run our offense through him, it really helps a lot. It makes it pretty easy.
How would you say playing for Matt Painter and his staff has allowed you, Caleb Furst, to see the game from a different vantage point?
Yeah. I'd say he's one of the greatest basketball minds, if not the best in college basketball. But he's so he harps on a lot, buying into your role. And I think that we've been able to have guys do that this year, especially, and it's been something that's been really good for us because we know that each guy is going to do his role and do it to the best of his ability.
You're from Fort Wayne, one of Indiana's own. Tell me about staying in your home state for college basketball. And when you're growing up in Indiana, like, is your earliest memory having a basketball in your hands?
No, honestly, I played baseball more so when I was younger. So that was kind of like my first sports memory. But, growing up in Indiana, kind of in the center of the Big Ten, I knew once I started to get good at basketball and knew I had a chance to play in college, I knew that I always wanted to play in the Big Ten. And then once Purdue started recruiting me and just seeing the way it was and everything, I knew it was where I wanted to go.
All right, rapid fire.
Okay.
Your favorite NBA player growing up that inspired you, that made you just watch and say, I want to be like him.
Mhm. I don't really know, to be honest. I didn't really have a. Oh, sorry, this ain't rapid fire. When I was in like middle school, like Kristaps Porzingis. That's my answer.
I like that. I like that. Porzingis. You're in West Lafayette. You need a midnight snack or you need a late night meal. What are you having?
Mhm. Oh, Taco Bell. Of course, Taco Bell. Or I've kind of cut off that.
Why? Come on.
Cereal.
You're 23 and 2. Have a chalupa. Wait, but if you ordered, what's your go-to order there?
Mine, I usually get like a chicken quesadilla, maybe a nachos Bel Grande, couple of soft tacos, couple hard tacos, no lettuce on them though. The Cinnabon Delights every once in a while if I was really feeling adventurous. I would get the whole menu.
See, you're my kind of guy, Caleb Furst. Caleb, thanks so much for joining us on Field of 68 After Dark.
Yep, thank you.
I really hope that Matt Painter is able to hear just that last answer because
get a chalupa.
He ran through the whole Taco Bell menu.
Oh my god!
And no lettuce.
Hey, it's good to hear him talk. We recruited Caleb pretty hard in high school. He did not say boo on the phone, so it's good to hear him. You know, his maturity level's gone up. I went to their practice in the fall to spend some time and check those guys out, and Caleb came up to me and it was like, the Caleb, you know, we started recruiting him when he was a sophomore, and he didn't say a word. So yeah, his personality is coming out. He was a monster in high school, man. You know, he's won the state championship as a sophomore. His dad Gary, mom Lotus. He was, but always just a quiet kid and just went about his work. So now his personality is coming out, and that's pretty cool to see.
It's really cool. And Purdue, they get their 23rd win of the season now, 23-2 on the year, are the Boilermakers. Hey, earlier here on Sirius XM Channel 84, you listened to Gonzaga beat San Francisco 99-81. Zags bounced back from that dramatic loss to St. Mary's. Yes, they're 2 games back in the WCC, but on this night, Drew Timme goes for 21 points. Rasheer Bolden goes for 23 as well for the Zags, and they get back on track. They win this game by 18. You know, we talk about Gonzaga and the level that they've been on for years. Guys, it's just not easy to duplicate that to the level that they've been on year in, year out. Patric, where do you stand on Gonzaga? Is this a team that you still believe could end up catching fire in March, making a deep run? Are you out on the Zags when it comes to Final Four this particular season? Where do you stand?
No, I don't think I'm out on the Zags. I believe in Mark Pugh and what he's done with building a core group of guys that understand his system, the pace of play. You know, I think sometimes the guard play, it gets a little shaky. You don't know who's going to step up. That can be a factor. But I believe with Drew Timme, I just saw what he did to Alabama single-handedly earlier this season when they put 100 points on Alabama. I saw a team that's certainly capable of, with the right matchups, making a run. They're just missing, you know, Andrew Nembhard. You feel only they still one more year of eligibility from him to come back, but he's been doing some great things with the Pacers this year. I think they can still make that, have an opportunity to do so. You know, St. Mary's I can't remember the freshman's name. I don't think anyone was counting on him.
Aiden Mahaney.
Yeah, of being such a stud that he's been this season, and just crushing the West Coast Conference with St. Mary's 10-0 right now in league play. When's the last time someone besides the Zags has won the league?
2012.
By the way.
Yeah, 2012.
2012. Wow, what a streak! No, I certainly think Gonzaga has an opportunity with the right matchup. So that's anybody to still make it to the Final Four. They'd have to really because I think what they do a great job is getting to the foul line. That's a huge advantage for them, and that will be in the tournament, getting opposing teams in foul trouble just defensively and their flow offensively. Will it be enough to make that run if they get the wrong matchup? I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Zags. I don't know about Final Four. I think they just you get spoiled with teams and programs, and one of the things you get spoiled with Gonzaga is like they've always had. You go all the way back to Matt Santangelo and Dan Dickow. They always had a guard. I know Timmy's. He's a Player of the Year candidate. He's right there. They've always had, even up to last year with Suggs and Nimbard, and a dynamic guard that you talk about a lot, right?
Yep.
And they don't necessarily have that when you talk about the tournament and making that type of a run. But could they do it? Yeah, they battled with the best, this season. They played, like Patrick said, Alabama and Baylor and Texas, and they've gone toe to toe with all of them, and so you wouldn't put it past them. But I just know right now, I think that. And they're not the only one in that conversation. So, I think that's why we keep talking about Houston, because they have a couple guards that can explode on you. Rasheed Bolton's really good. He had a great game tonight. He was phenomenal. He's not a point guard. He's a scorer. He's a shooter. He's good when he's playing alongside a really good point guard like Nimbard that he was last year. But he's had to take on a big part of that role. But they're really, what few he's done over the last, two decades has been, phenomenal. I mean, you can't, it's hard to replicate. And if a down year is like, hey, you lose to a really good St. Mary's team, then take that, right, as a coach.
60-second rant, if I may. If we're going to criticize a team as heavily as they've been criticized in a decade for being 20-5, then all of your narratives out there, you know who you are. All of your narratives out there that they can't win the big one, that they can't do this, that they can't do that, you cannot have your cake and eat it too on this show. We won't let it happen. I won't let it happen. It's not happening. We are too harsh at times on Gonzaga. We are. It's, they don't play anybody. It's, they don't have guard play this year. Like, at the end of the day, folks, they've won 20 of 25 games. They did play people. Mark Few's one of the best coaches in America. Have they stumbled? Yeah, but you know what? I'd argue maybe by stumbling, it might lead to some better March results. Who knows?
Could be.
Great point. Sure.
When they ran into Aiden Mahaney, a really good guard, they didn't have an answer. So that's the issue.
Bingo.
But it doesn't knock anything that they've done. Look, did you see the graphic during the game? Since 2014, their record against everybody in the league not named BYU and St. Mary's.
Absurd.
They lost one game, and that was this year to Loyola Marymount. It was like 200-something and one.
It's unbelievable. I'm not saying that they're going on a Final Four run. Like, let's make that clear. But the discourse on Gonzaga, if it's not one thing, it's the other. We just like ragging on them. I think certain people like ragging on them. Don't rag on them. Mark Few's built one of the best programs in America. Speaking of best programs, we're going to talk about those programs. We unveil our national championship tier. I've got my tier ready. I want to hear what these guys have to say about it. It's the Field of 68 After Dark, Sirius XM.
I love it, Fanta.
Clear.
I love Fanta.
We're bringing the energy tonight, right, Trevor? I mean, Trevor, a little bit harsh at times.
Hey, I'm with you. That was a good rant. And it makes it easy to clip for Twitter, so I appreciate that on the production.
By the way, somebody said in the chat that UCLA hasn't beaten anybody.
I did. Somebody in the chat.
Yeah, nice. What else do we got, Trevor? What questions?
We'll stick in the Pac-12 because Anthony wants your guys' thoughts on Arizona State who have really been slipping lately. They are currently losing, I believe, by double digits at Stanford.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pac-12
go ahead.
It's tough. Like this game tonight's big for USC, right? Because I think they're in, but Oregon, they're in there, but Arizona State, USC needs Arizona State to keep winning because they're one of their quad one wins. So the league is, they still have a chance because of the schedule.
30 seconds.
And so they're not out of it, in my opinion.
Well, this is also life in the Pac-12. Those road swings are tough. They're tougher than maybe objects are closer than they appear in the mirror. That's kind of the Pac-12. I mean, these road trips come up on you, and it
10.
could end up. Sometimes the Pac-12 defeats. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. 3, 2.
Kono bringing all the hits on the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by Bet Rivers. We're on Sirius XM College Channel 84. John Fanta. We got the coach's perspective from LaVall Jordan. We got the player's perspective from Patric Young. It's great to have you with us, everybody. It is now time to unveil our Field of 68 championship tier. Earlier today, was talking with our producers, Dagan Hughes, Trevor Valise, about, you know what, guys? Here's the teams that I believe need to be considered in the national championship conversation. Now, it's a big conversation. We all know that. But I'm going to give you guys the quick rundown here, and you're going to react, all right? Here are the 9 teams that I'm most bullish on when it comes to chance to win the whole thing. Number 1's easy, Purdue. We have spent more than enough time on the Boilermakers and what makes them special. Number 2, Alabama. Alabama is 11-0 in conference play for the first time since 1956.
Crazy.
And they've won almost every one of those conference games by double figures. Brandon Miller's a freak of nature. They've got all the pieces and parts. Houston is 3. Marcus Sasser just refuses to be denied. Jarris Walker's a lottery pick. They're tough as nails defensively. Kelvin Sampson gets his teams to get better as the year goes on because he demands more out of his players than they even know they're capable of. They're 3. Arizona's 4. Azuolas Tubelis is an All-American. And he and Omar Ballo are just a load to cover. If their guard play is even okay, I'm good with the Wildcats putting them in there. UCLA. That's right. There's 2 Pac-12 teams in my championship tier. Jaime Jaquez is All-American material. Nick Cronin went to a Final Four 2 years ago, and he's got pieces that were on that team back. Adam Bona's gotten better and better. I like their supporting cast. All right, 4 more. Kansas, you have to put them in the championship tier, right? They can repeat. Jalen Wilson's an All-American. They play small ball, and that ends up being an advantage for them. And they've got the best coach in the country. Baylor, because of the backcourt. If we say it's a guards game, Baylor epitomizes that. Texas. Texas is in there for me. They're top 30 in KenPom offense and defense. And to me, when you've got the playmaking that they have with Marcus Carr and with Tyrese Hunter, who I think will figure it out, with Mitchell, with Allen, they've got too many pieces and parts, and they're tough. They've got a toughness. The final team in my championship tier, because we couldn't all go vanilla. I couldn't just go normal the whole way. The 9th team in my championship tier, cracking into the championship tier on this Thursday night, the Creighton Blue Jays.
Okay.
Balance,
okay.
Poise, guard play, elite rim protection from Ryan Kalkbrenner. They are the team we thought they would be back in November. Now they've returned to that. They've won 7 in a row. I think they can make it an 8th in a row this weekend in Omaha at home against UConn. They're rolling. That is my championship tier. Reaction.
How I agree with most of those, John. I would say
Most of them.
There's a tier 1 and a tier 2 amongst them. In my
them.
opinion, I would say Creighton's probably tier 2 in that group that you mentioned, even Kansas. And the reason I say that, Creighton's playing really well at the moment. Obviously, Kalkbrenner's out, but obviously their ball security and their shot making. They're not, Shireman can really, really shoot, but they have their nights where they don't make them. So their defense has to hold them down. Kansas, yes, because Jalen Wilson is a monster. Bill Self is phenomenal. But DeJuan Harris, when they've lost, he scores like 0 points, 2 points. If they get consistent DeJuan Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, kind of throws them in that second tier. But, I agree with you. I would add in there, and you said it, is a huge game on Saturday. I would add Connecticut back in there in that second tier, because I think they figured some things out in the Xavier loss. Tristan Newton's really aggressive now, and he scored. He had triple-double last game. Like, the way he was playing at Eastgate, like, he's just playing now. He's not trying to be a point guard. He's playing. And they needed that from their guards. They needed to be able to put points on the board when everybody was locked in on Sanogo and Hawkins. But the rest, I'm in on. I like that group of, UCLA. I think you're spot on with, Hawkeye being a mismatch, and so I think it's in Arizona's, their defense is picked up. That's the thing. But like, when they beat UCLA in a under 60-point game, that said a lot about Arizona, because that wasn't the type of game that you would have pegged them to win. And I think from then on, if their defense is even close, if it keeps moving in the right direction, shoot, we know they can put points on the board. And when you get to the tournament, the game's called different. It opens back up. So offensive teams have some, they have some sort of advantages. So the Xaviers, the Marquettes, the Arizonas, the teams that can really, really score, the game will open back up. You're in your league right now. Everybody knows your stuff. It's physical. It's a mosh pit. Refs stop calling fouls. The tournament changes a bit. So I don't know, Patrick, what do you think?
Rob liked your call there. In the group text. I think
I did that just for Doster. I did it just for
Doster.
Oh my God,
he was a fan of that.
LaVall, come on.
Tier 2 though, second tier Fanta.
Fanta,
we're not gonna get too excited.
I think I'm putting Kansas at that 4 spot instead of Arizona.
Okay.
I just believe, but to your point, DeJuan Harris, when he is bad, they are not winning a game. I think that they have solved that formula, as for him to find that bit of aggressiveness that he needs to find out there. He doesn't have to be a game controller, but he knows he has to make a few shots to open it up for the rest of his guys, because he is a great point guard and getting shots for his guys. I think I will put Texas 1 spot ahead of UCLA. I think that's pretty interchangeable. Yes, with that's around the 6 and 7 spot. I don't, after what Tennessee has kind of faltered with these last 3 games, they've had a skid. Yeah, they won. They lose to Florida, beat Auburn on a fluke, lose to Vanderbilt last night on a crazy. Did you guys see that series by chance?
Unbelievable ending to that game.
First off, to be in a situation where you have 4 fouls to give for Vandy with 30 seconds left, and then Julian Phillips doesn't take the wide open layup. I just think I think Tennessee is going to make the Elite Eight. Huh?
3 possessions is like, take the layup and you got to be up 3 possessions, because anything can happen. You just got to take the points.
Yeah, I think Tennessee is Elite Eight worthy. I don't think they're offensively. I just can't see them being in that first tier enough to do anything special in the tournament. I mean, their top scorer is averaging, Santiago Vescovi averaging 11 this year, 11 and a half. You need somebody. They don't have an alpha, a dog. I don't think Zakai Ziegler's enough. And I think I'm going to take Xavier in that last spot over Creighton.
Whoa, Xavier from Patric Young.
Yeah.
Why could Xavier win it all?
Man, their guard play, they're coached so well, dynamic. obviously in a basketball league in the Big East. I think Sully Boom, with what he has done as a grad transfer, I think he's the engine. But who's the big guy? Fremantle
and Nunji.
He's a tough matchup.
But I was gonna say Boom because the dude scored his whole career. And when you get in a tournament, like if you get a guard, you saw it last year with Caleb Love, right? You've seen it with Kimber Walker. I saw it up close and personal with Trey Burke. Like if you get a guard that can carry it, you can just ride him through the tournament. So if Sule Boom goes bananas, Xavier could do, So I wouldn't. They were one of my dark horses, Patrick, because it's like if you have a guard that could just put a quarter in and ride him because he's just going, he can take you there. Baylor, Fanta, I don't know, because here's why I say that. Defensively, they're not up to Scott's typical.
Everyday John is back.
Now he's back. That makes a difference because they hadn't been, Scott's been elite. I mean, you're talking top 20 in the country defensively with the guards. But now what they got, now that they got a guy back, that may change a number of things for Baylor. So, but I don't know.
All right, we'll resume this conversation. Who do we think can win the national title? Plus, up next, it's time for bubble talk.
Oh, yeah.
Should John Calipari be sweating at night? All that and more coming up. Field of 68 After Dark, Sirius XM, Channel 84. Trevor, what do you have?
All right, here's one from Jacob. Out of all the number one seeds right now, who do you guys think is the most suspect number one seed, the one you trust the least?
Who are the number one seeds?
Purdue,
well, according
Alabama.
to Fielding the 68 from Lucas Harkins, Andy Bottoms, Rocco Miller, and Brad Watzel. Their ones are Purdue, Alabama, Houston, and Arizona. And without a doubt, I would say Arizona because Kirk Kriisa and Courtney Ramey can be frenetic. Things could go a little bit crazy with their backcourt at times, and things fall out of control. Arizona is the one seed in our Fielding the 68 bracket that I think is most susceptible. Anybody disagree?
I could roll with that. I could roll with that,
yeah.
Trevor,
just
what else?
Because, you sometimes it's like Forrest Gump, right? Box of chocolates.
Right.
Here's an interesting one from Bill. If Marquette played Purdue again, would they win?
Possibly. They still have
30 seconds.
Here's what Rutgers, Indiana, Ohio State had them beat, and then they just turned it over late, right, and then gave up a three. But you had a physical enough, athletic enough five, and then you have big guards and wings that can recover to the shooters. Like that's been the teams that have given them issues. Marquette put pressure the heck out of them and try to turn them over. But I don't know because their five isn't super.
3, 2.
Final segment on this Thursday night edition of the Field of 68 After Dark, Sirius XM College, Channel 84. We are presented, as always, by Bet Rivers. And it's that time of year, folks, where we're about 4 weeks away from Selection Sunday. So what do you want to know about the bubble, the bracket projections, what the forecast is? Our crew on the Fielding the 68 show will give you all the answers you need. Tomorrow, Friday, 5 Eastern time, live on the Field of 68, Twitter and YouTube. An updated bracket, your questions answered, what life is like on the bubble. Lucas Harkins, Andy Bottoms, Rocco Miller, Brad Wachtel. They work on their projections. They work together on a collaborative effort. Fielding the 68. We don't have one bracketologist. We have 4, and we're going to bring them all to you tomorrow, Friday, 5 Eastern time. Don't miss the show because it is that time of year. LaVall Jordan, it is that time of year. For these teams that are on the bubble, for these coaches who are on the bubble, how do you deal with life on the bubble?
You remain as best. Now, you just keep it one day at a time, one game at a time as coach. And it sounds like coach speak, coach talk, but it's where you have to keep your focus. Now, easier said than done. And as a coach, you're talking to your guys about not paying any attention, but it's really hard, especially today in the world that we live in. But you're just trying to keep a steady focus, John, to be honest, on, just let's operate and take the day, right? And take one game at a time and control what you can control. And that's the message, probably every coach that's living there, because you don't want your team's anxiety levels up. You can't have yours up. There's a lot of these teams have plenty of opportunities left. I mean, there's a lot of basketball still to be played. So, it's you can get high after one win or low after one loss, but there's plenty of ball still to be played. And if you're right there and you still have a conference tournament to play. So it's just one game at a time.
Yeah, agreed.
It's such a hard world to live in with the social media, the inevitable questions. These players obviously are looking at all this stuff. Don't tell me that they're not. You know what you have to do. And right now, our Fielding the 68 crew, again, Lucas Harkins, Andy Bottoms, Rocco Miller, Brad Wachtel, their last 4 in, as of their bracket earlier this week on February the 6th, Kentucky and Memphis, as well as North Carolina and Oklahoma State.
Okay, State.
Man, if we got Kentucky and Memphis and Dayton, just take the roof off of UD Arena if we get John Calipari meeting his old school that he was at in Memphis. I'll tell you what, guys, Kentucky, Carolina, if I put those two in front of you, Patric Young, and I said, only one of them is going to make the NCAA tournament, who do you like more?
Oh, man. Why'd you do me like that, John?
Hey, I'm telling you right now, I'm not throwing a hanging breaking ball to you at 11:52. We finished strong on this show.
We finished strong on this show. I feel that. Man, being real, Arkansas punked Kentucky.
Yeah, they did.
But then Wake Forest, they got North Carolina lost to Wake Forest this past weekend, right?
Yep.
They got punked pretty good as well. So neither team really has a great case showing up right now. One team to make the tournament out of the two. Man, I'm going to say Kentucky just because I think they have better opportunities to build their resume. Just looking at their schedule, having Tennessee at home, have Mississippi State on the road. And that's no easy. Kentucky has Georgia on the road this weekend, and I know it's Georgia, but that's not going to be an easy game. Coach White has turned them around from last year to this year. It's not going to be a breeze of a game.
Is there an easy game for Kentucky? There's no easy games for Kentucky.
Is there an easy one?
No.
And I'm not even. They got Vanderbilt at home in March, but Vandy, they've been besides the little brothering they received against Alabama a few weeks ago, 55 points. They lost by 55 to Alabama. Besides that, I think Vandy's tough. Gosh, I'm gonna say Kentucky has the better chance of making it right now.
You want my answer?
I think North Carolina's roster is better, but
then how could you say if you think Carolina's roster is better? If you think Carolina's roster is better, how could you say Kentucky has a better chance after just listing that schedule?
Oscar Tshiebwe?
If I was picking between the two of them, I'd say Carolina because they don't have any quad 4 losses. Kentucky has one. But I'm picking neither of them. I'm saying Wisconsin. Like, they got 6 quad 1 wins. What are we doing? We're talking about teams with 1 quad 1 win. Wisconsin has 6 of them.
There you go.
And they're not in?
They're in our first 4 out right now. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. And let's see here. They won earlier this week. They beat Penn State. I bet you, I'm going to bet right now that Lucas, Andy, Rocco, and Brad are going to have Wisconsin in their projection when it comes out tomorrow, 5 Eastern time on the show. Because
with T.O. on the net, I'm going to be jumping on the Terrence Oglesby train with the net. Like,
don't pump him up. Don't pump him up. He'll do victory laps all night long with the net. Here's the thing. here's the thing. If Carolina and Kentucky weren't named Carolina and Kentucky, I don't think they'd be in the field right now. I really don't.
And they got one quad one. They're 1-7 and 1-8.
They haven't done anything against
and that's not to knock them. It's just those are the games on the schedule. You have to compete them. You got to play. I think they obviously they can both turn it, and there's plenty of time, like Patrick said. But wow,
they needed that Kansas game. Kansas is just tougher. More
Carolina to me is the most frustrating team. How do you go from making the national championship game to now barely being in the NCAA tournament if you're in on February the 9th? This is not hard. They have an All-American caliber big man in Armando Bacot. Caleb Love and RJ Davis are back. They've got enough. Don't tell me that they don't have enough. And you're right on Kentucky. Kentucky's got enough, although I don't like Kentucky's backcourt day to day. They're inconsistent. Carolina's got too many dudes who were in a national championship game to not make the NCAA tournament, for that to be in jeopardy at this stage. That's disappointing. And frankly, there's not much of an excuse for it, in my humble opinion. Look, it's hard. I know college basketball's hard. But North Carolina has been disappointing. And I think Hubert Davis would have to agree at this moment that his team has not been able to live up to the standards in a league that they frankly could be ruling. They could be top 3 in the league. They should be top 3 in the league. Anything I'm saying that's false?
Has that happened before? A team that brought just about everybody back from like a deep run that didn't make it the next year? I don't know. You'd have to talk to the researchers on that one.
I don't think so. I
don't know what it is. Obviously, we're not in the locker room and behind the curtain with Carolina because they're talented. We all know that. So I can't sit here and it's hard to put a finger on the inconsistencies, and only the coach and the coaching staff know what's happening every day, and only the players know the conversations in the locker room.
Hey, last notes here because we got 1 minute left on Sirius XM. Northwestern beats Ohio State tonight, 69-63. Brooks Barnheiser with a big night. Bowie went for 19 points. Barnheiser ended up coming up huge off the bench with 19 as well. Northwestern goes to 17-7. Our Fielding the 68 crew has them currently as a number 10 seed. So they, in an important game, Ohio State has really struggled. They were able to take care of business. They get that win. Plenty of Pac-12 action still going on. If you're a college hoop junkie, keep tuning in. We're on with you throughout the weekend. We're on with you at 11 Eastern time. Field of 68 After Dark. For LaVall Jordan, for Patric Young, for my producer, Trevor Valise, for Caleb Furst of Purdue, we thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you this weekend on the Field of 68. Sirius XM College, Channel 84. After dark time. The afters.
Let's keep going on Northwestern for just a second. We had a few people in the chat say, did this win solidify their tournament position? They were a 10 seed before the win. They currently sit in second place in the Big Ten.
No, it didn't solidify. Solidify? As in, like, now they're not, there's no way that they can't make it? Is that what you mean by the question?
Was that 6 for them? They have 5 quad 1 wins. That's a quad 1 win on the road, right? Ohio State?
I guess.
I mean, yes, but Ohio State is like a top 20 net team, and they're 11-13. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the net. Hey,
come on.
But that counts. I mean, I don't get to decide why it counts or doesn't count. On paper, it's a quad 1 win. So now they're at 6.
Ohio State is 3-9. They're 3-9 in their conference. 3-9. And that's a quadrant 1 win?
Hey John, don't be mad at me. I didn't set it up. I'm just looking at the sheet.
I'm with you.
Here's
and
what
I'm an Ohio guy.
Honestly, because as a coach, you get frustrated. Like Buzz Williams last year, he was extremely frustrated. I'm trying to understand: is it number of wins, or the number of quality wins. So even Houston, for instance, they got 4 quad 1 wins. Do you know how many teams have more than 4?
Yeah.
In the country, like Kansas has 10. So why wouldn't they be a 1 seed?
And I'm with you on that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and they don't have any. They've only lost to quad 1. They're 10-5 against quad 1. They haven't lost to anybody else. So I'm trying to, and I know Houston has 20 plus wins, but I don't know the metrics. I don't do the brackets. I'm just saying on paper, it looks like Kansas, Purdue, Texas, and even maybe Baylor should be 1 seeds.
Well, our crew has them currently as a 2 at fielding the 68. And our crew right now, as I go through it, Kansas and Texas, Baylor, Kansas State, Iowa State are all
my
top
question
4.
is, John, how can you have the 10 quad 1 wins, the most in the country, and be a 2 seed? Like, I don't understand.
Because they play in the best conference in America, and as a result, what happens is they get faulted for having 5 losses, which isn't fair. I'm not saying it's fair. The fact is the net formula is inconsistent.
But we're going to put a team that only has 4 of them as a 1 seed?
Yeah, because
as opposed to 10?
I'm with you. According to the net,
6 more.
Margin of victory matters. Now, I think that that's a bunch of hogwash. I mean,
Patrick,
apparently now you have to manage garbage time differently.
Yeah, you do. That's true.
And you can't fault coaches for playing the numbers, right? I don't fault you. Don't fault anybody.
In that case, take layups when you're up and the game's pretty much over.
Hey, Patrick, if the net was around when I was playing CYO basketball, I really would have never played.
That's true. We wouldn't get those moments that our walk-ons getting in.
I will say this bracket was made Monday before the Kansas-Texas game, so I don't know if our bracketologists tomorrow will have bumped Kansas up for that win. That got them 10, but...
Are they working right now feverishly?
Not even ours on this one. It's like all the brackets. It's all. So I'm saying, like, hey, there's teams with 8, 9, 10. You know, if that matters. Now, I don't know. Does that matter, or just getting 27, 26 wins or something? You know, like, what matters the most? Because if you're in it and you're coaching, you're trying to figure out, all right, what matters the most. You want to just be in. Like, do what you got to do. Do what you have to do to get in. But if you're at these teams at these levels, you know, it's like, what matters the most for us in terms of seeding?
Now, like, see, there you go. I look at Memphis, right? Because Memphis was in our last 4 in. They have 1 quadrant 1 win. 1. They are 4-3 against quad 2. It's fine. They're 7-1 against quad 3. So they do have a quad 3 loss. But guys, they have 13 of their 18 wins have come in quadrant 3 and 4. Are we just going to reward? I'm just saying, like, are we just going to reward a team for accumulating wins?
It's called good scheduling, John.
Well, it's called playing in the American too.
Yeah.
Right, Patrick?
Yeah, that's true. I had the same argument what you're saying with Missouri early on. Then they ran into Kansas, got the brakes beaten off after starting out 12-0, but proved themselves against Illinois and Iowa State, Kentucky, and I saw they're the real deal. Mississippi State, same, started off undefeated, and LSU. Accumulating quad 3, quad 4, maybe 1 quad 2 game, and then when they got faced some real competition, faltered. LSU has one league win. Mississippi State's I think they're in consideration right now. They're outside looking in, but yeah, that strength of schedule. Especially if you're in a conference like the American or whatever it may be, you have to go out and play those games that can help you later in the season, because you're not going to get. Yeah, they're going to accumulate a bunch of Q3 and 4 wins that doesn't really do much. If you lose one of those games, though, that'll do a lot for you. That's for sure.
Whoever was asking about Arizona State, they're up 2 at Stanford. They better pull this one. They got to pull this one out.
They need to win that game.
Man.
They need to win this game here. Arizona State has got to find a way. If they're going to keep a pulse of any sort, they're up 2. on FS1 for those who are flipping around, 67-65 on Stanford.
up.
Arizona's up 13 on Cal. That's not surprising. Fellas, Oregon is up 15 on USC. Now, Oregon is a team that's on the bubble. And they've got USC here tonight. They're up 15 at the half. It would appear that Dana Altman and Oregon have figured some things out. They've got UCLA this weekend.
Yeah, that's their only quad one. So here's that's you were just talking about with the Pac-12. That's their only quad one opportunity left on their schedule is the UCLA game.
Now here's the wild thing, LaVall. If Oregon beats UCLA, they'll have as many quad one wins as Houston.
I can't.
They retreat back. Those are the things.
So Kansas has 10, Purdue has 9. Guess who has the third most? 7, tied for third.
Baylor.
That's one of them.
Right?
Nope.
Iowa. Oh, Goodman's team.
Iowa's tied for third in the country in quad one wins.
And Iowa State, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Iowa tested themselves. They played a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. They really did. But how does it now? They have a quad 4 loss, but the fact that they have 7 quad 1 wins and they're not in the top 30, that's crazy. It really is. It's a weird metric, folks.
What's this do tonight, John? So educate me. So like USC, Oregon right now. Oregon's winning. USC's 50. Oregon's 53.
Right.
USC's they're 2 and 3 versus quad 1, and they've got the quad 4 loss to Florida Gulf Coast.
Yep. They're a 9 seed. They were a 9 seed. I would assume if they lose this game, they're going to be trying to.
Schedule's 55.
Yep.
And they're 50 in the net, and they got 2 quad 1 wins, but a quad 4 loss. Like, see, I'm not a bracketologist. I'm glad I don't do this stuff. I'd just rather coach the team.
What do our?
But then you got Oregon. Oregon's 3-6 against quad 1. So Oregon's got 3 quad 1 wins. So they got more quad 1 wins than USC.
Right. But they also had a bad loss, like a bad loss.
Like Florida Gulf Coast?
No, Oregon lost to, who did they lose to in the they lost to Utah Valley, who's having a good year, but they lost at home to Utah Valley.
So like Arizona, someone was asking about Arizona State. They're
and UC Irvine. Oregon's lost to Utah Valley and UC Irvine.
They got 2 of them. Arizona State's 70, but they got 3 quad 1 wins, but they have a bad loss.
Oh my. St. Mary's.
It's a tie ball game.
St. Mary's and Loyola Marymount are going to overtime.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's big.
Stan's at it again. Stan Johnson.
Tell you what, Stan Johnson he's got a team.
He's at it again. He had a good year last year. He's doing a tremendous job.
You pay him a visit at all while you're out there?
No, I haven't gotten over there. I need to get over there. I haven't had a day off when we're out here in LA. Really. It's more, but I should get over there and see him. He's doing great.
Well, Cam Shelton 20 tonight, and saying that's big, Patrick, because we were just talking about how St. Mary's has that 2-game lead. But this
will be huge.
Therein lies the whole Gonzaga thing. Like, now St. Mary's is understanding what's life like as the hunted, right? You know, Loyola Marymount was going to give their absolute best punch in this game.
Sure.
Whereas Gonzaga gets it every night, every single night. I'm not trying to disrespect St. Mary's because they've been excellent. They've been NCAA tournament program, but you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah, Patrick, you lived it as a player, right? I mean, if you didn't walk into that, it's just hard. Or if you're the next group of players, like an older group graduates and they were successful, and then now, it's on you next, and you're just walking into every arena. It's hard to handle. When you have a reputation for it. They've been doing it for years, but it's a different group each year. But now Timmy's been the captain. Does he have another year if he wants to come back?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
it's insane.
We got a question from MK. You guys will like this. All right. We have a couple questions. Oh wait, okay, hold on a minute. Michael asks, this is for LaVall. when you're in Indianapolis, is it Sullivan's Steakhouse or St. Elmo's Steakhouse?
St. Elmo's. St. Elmo's. There's a Sullivan's, but
and Harry and Izzy's too.
And Harry and Izzy's. Same owners as St. Elmo's, Harry and Izzy's. So you're gonna get the John. You probably eat the whole thing of the cocktail sauce, don't you?
Coach, you kidding? I mean,
you can handle it. I can't handle it. It's too much. It's
Harry and Izzy's. Many a night, Patrick. Many a night when Coach was getting locked in. I'm sure. I knew he was watching film. He was focusing in on his team and his big game. He's locked into his scout, locked into everything. I'd interview him night before a game. I'd be camped out in the upstairs of Harry and Izzy's having shrimp cocktail and a glass of wine, and I'm thinking to myself, this beats the whatever those guys are doing up all night. I mean, I don't look. I envy the biweekly check, but my God Almighty, I mean, I'll take Harry and Izzy's the night before getting ready for a Big East game.
All right,
got to do that. That's a must.
That's right. What's up, Trevor?
We got some backed up chat questions here I was saving. Let's see.
Fire.
Steve wants to know, would you guys rather have a team of really good athletes who haven't always clicked, or a team that doesn't necessarily have the guy but have played as a unit when going into March?
I'd rather have a team that was playing as a unit.
Yeah, for sure.
March. No question about it. Yeah, I think those things matter. Like that's why I think Texas. John, you had said Texas earlier. Like a part of the formula is if there's something bigger on the line, like those guys locking arms with each other in spite of all the adversity.
Yeah,
matters. It matters when there's something meaningful and they have a cause and something pushing them, not just numbers, not just, there's something else, right, Patrick? Like there's something else there that, so they've got something. It's going to be hard to break them when it comes down to it. Like it'll be hard for them to refuse to give in, in that when they get to the tournament.
Yeah, I think a team like that is, whether it's some adversity, some real deal adversity, and to be able to still play at this level just goes to show the closeness and chemistry they have. I don't think anything's going to phase this Texas team going forward.
Like we ran into, John, you remember the team we lost to at Louisville, and they had Rush Smith and Peyton Siva, but they had the kid break his leg that season.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was like the thing. They were rallied behind. Like it was going to be hard for anybody to beat Louisville just because they had the extra motivation to do it together and do it for their teammate. And, like there was something else driving them.
What else we got, Trev?
All right, I made him wait long enough. Our guy Yuli wants Fanta's breakdown of tomorrow night's Big East battle between Xavier and Butler.
Xavier and Butler. Well, Sean Miller and Thad Matta, they spend time together. They spend time coaching together. There's a lot of good pictures that'll be shown on the telecast on Friday night of them spending time through the years together. And I'll tell you what, I think Xavier comes in, they're going to be fresh. I mean, they had the midweek bye. You're talking about one of the best offenses in college basketball. So the number one question going in the game is, okay, this is the first time these two teams are meeting this season. Very late in the year for that to happen in the Big East, as you know, LaVall. That doesn't happen a whole lot this late. But the question's going to be, how does Butler get the game settled to a tempo of their liking and to a style that can fit their ability to hang around? And the fact is, that is close to impossible to do against Xavier. Xavier has lost some games, but they've done it playing their way. Up and down, open floor, passing up a good shot to make it a great shot. Honestly, I look at this matchup, Butler is overmatched in this game, and Xavier has a chance to overwhelm them. Butler has got to find a way to get Manny Bates the ball and get Jack Nungy in some foul trouble early or else. And they're going to need their guards. They need Chuck Harris back in this game to have any sort of a shot. He claims that he's feeling better. I noticed that he put that on social media. But, yeah, my key to that game tomorrow is how does Butler settle down Xavier's offense, which if Xavier clicks offensively, there's just no way that Butler's good enough offensively to score with them.
Yeah, hard to do. And they've had a week to practice without Zach Freemantle. I think that's important because, they lost a guy and they rallied and got 2 wins without him just on emotion and their chemistry. But now they've had, small ball lineups or whatever Sean wants to practice. They've had some time to put in. Look, but it's a rivalry game. Things can happen. Those teams aren't far away from each other. I know the emotions that go into that one and what's being said in both locker rooms. You can throw the records out of the window, but there's so much firepower on the Xavier roster. Butler, they've got to shoot the ball at a high clip to stick around and have a chance at the end. And they've done it. I mean, you walk into Hinkle Fieldhouse, you know how that is, John. Like Kansas State walked in there and lost this season. And it was earlier and they were trying to figure themselves out, but, it's possible. But yeah, Xavier has they just have a lot of weapons. It's hard to match up with.
You said it. Anything else, Trevor?
Last one from me. Let's see. Bill in the chat says, Patrick, do you think Florida still has a chance to make the tournament?
Huh?
Florida.
This guy? Yeah, there's a chance. It's very, very slim. Very. I mean, I'm not surprised they got blown out by. They're 13-11. Just let that sit. How many 13-11 teams make the tournament? It's not looking good. I think there's still some opportunities in the season to get a quad one win here or there. Let's see. I think they got Arkansas. I think Kentucky at home. Just outside of Castleton, who steps up? Let's see, quad one opportunities. You got on the road at Arkansas. In Bud Walton, got Kentucky at home after that, and then in the season, you got LSU. I would almost argue that they have to beat Arkansas and Kentucky and win out. They almost need to win out. You can't lose to Ole Miss. You can't lose to Georgia. I don't think you can lose to Vandy either game. So. I don't know if they're good enough to do any of those things.
And Vandy's playing better.
Vandy is playing better. Tyron Lawrence, he's a stud. He's no Scottie Pippen Jr., but he's a stud.
Somebody asked who's calling UConn Creighton Saturday. It's Jason Benetti and Jim Jackson. Great crew. It'll be on Fox. You catch LaVall Jordan studio. Big time top 25 showdown in Omaha.
We will be there. John, let me ask you this. What about their dark horse tourney team, John Fanta?
Dark horse tourney team?
To make a run. I know you gave me your top tier.
Right. So I'm gonna go with a team that if I go down dying with them, I'm happy to do that. And I know they got rolled earlier this week. They lost. And they did not have their star. My dark horse tourney team is still Jamie Dixon and TCU.
Okay.
Because when Mike Miles is fully healthy, they have an alpha guard. They defended at an extremely high level. And between Damian Baugh and Eddie Lampkin and O'Bannon, Emmanuel Miller, what he provides, versatility, length, score it. I like the way that their supporting cast has developed as the year's gone on. And even though that team has gone through hiccups, guys, they're the team to me that's gone through hiccups but will be better because of it. And to me, did you guys notice last year in the tournament when they faced Arizona? Like, I know in the tournament you play like your life's on the line, because it is. They really were playing like it. I mean, you want to talk about a team that was playing hard as hell. And they bring back that core. Tournament experience matters. If that logic is something that makes sense, which I think it does, I will ride the Horned Frogs. I've got TCU to make a deep run. I think it's the year of the Horned Frog. They made the college football playoff. They make a run on the March Madness dance floor.
You're gonna ride the wave.
I'm riding the wave. Who do you guys think?
Patrick, who you got? Dark horse.
Gosh, I was going to go K-State just because that's what my heart's Kansas State. That's what my heart think about Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. Yeah, I'm saying Big 12.
LaVall, anybody?
So I'm saying St. Mary's.
Okay, yeah.
Why? Here's why. They've got size to defend, physicality, and a defensive rebound.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. And St. Mary's is about to lose.
And they're about to lose. So my dark horse is about to go down. The loyal Stan Johnson's going to do it again.
They are down three. They're down three.
But I think they make enough shots, and they got a dude that can like take over and just kind of go crazy in Mahaney. I mean, I like that. I hadn't seen him till the Gonzaga game. I'd heard about him, but it's hard to stay up that late to watch those games. But man, he's good.
He's really
good. Patrick, you seen him play? Oh my goodness, he's special.
You got to watch him play, Pat. He's really good. Two others I would say.
The other one I was gonna say was Marquette.
Yeah,
that's the team. Like I just like them. So I just like the way they play. I like their connection. I like their chemistry. I love Tyler Kolek. I know their defense isn't like, when they need to get one, but man, you got to score. You got to keep up with them. Like they score points. They can turn you over, and so they've got a different style when it gets to the tournament. Where if they're not making shots, they can still turn you over and turn it into offense.
The two other teams I would say, Rutgers, keep an eye on. Veteran core, toughness, great defense. Cliff Amory's big time, and Mulcahy just makes plays for others. If Cam Spencer hits shots, when he scores 14 or more points, they're 11-1. The other team is San Diego State. Last year they got snake bitten in the tournament by Creighton. They're the best team in the Mountain West. They're a dangerous team. Matt Bradley is big time, but they've also had Jaden Leday was a nice addition to that team. I like the way that they're coming along. I mean, I like that team a lot. And I think a Mountain West team's due for a deep run. San Diego State fits the bill. They really do. Ready for three toasts?
St. Mary's officially goes down, by the way.
We got to collectively toast to Stan Johnston, right? Like,
done.
Goodness.
Done.
That's like an automatic. He just got it done.
Got it done.
Loyola Marymount has defeated Gonzaga and St. Mary's.
Kudos
Stan Johnson.
Stan.
Good for you, Stan Johnson.
And the man.
Yeah.
A toast to you. I like that, LaVall. That's a good one.
That wasn't my original toast, but man, how could you not, right?
That's the one. Patrick, anywhere you want to go?
My toast will be maybe Patrick Mahomes getting his second MVP in 6 years.
So here's my original toast, John, before you go was, and this is my man Amir Abdul-Rahim down at Kennesaw State. They got their 19th win tonight. So he's in year 4. They're tied for first place in the Atlantic.
They're really
Sun
good
with Liberty this year. He's in year 4. Year 1, he won one game. Starting to rebuild it. One game. Done an unbelievable job down there. He's going to get 20 wins this year. They might win the Atlantic Sun. They got a chance to make the NCAA tournament. Proud of him. So that was my original toast before Stan got it done, was to Coach Abdul-Rahim down there at Kennesaw State.
Good call. They're a really good team.
Great job.
I saw them in person. Yeah, they're great.
You know what? I'm going to go a little bit different here. A team in college basketball that went 4-22 last year. Right now, they're 15-11. They're 8-3 in their conference. They had a coaching change, and they made a hire that a lot of people were saying, wait a minute, who is this guy? Well, it's because he was at Division II Thomas Aquinas. Tobin Anderson and Fairleigh Dickinson University, FDU. A toast to you guys, because you've already exceeded any expectation anybody would have had with 15 wins. They're a factor in the NEC. They beat LIU today 80-79. They get 21 points from Ansley Almanor. A shout out to the FDU Knights. I mean, you go from 4 wins already to having 15 this year. And for Tobin, he's a guy that won a ton at St. Thomas Aquinas. He was making Sweet 16s. He made an Elite 8. It just goes to show you. And this Salmonan, there's a lot of great Division II and Division III and whatever coaches that are at other levels that people don't give credit to because they're not on TV all the time. But give those coaches some love, because FDU gave Tobin Anderson a chance, and he has made the most of it.
Certainly.
Cheers to you, Coach Anderson. Cheers to the FDU Knights. For producer Trevor Release, for Patric Young, for LaVall Jordan, I'm John Fanta. Trevor, are we back tomorrow night? So we're off tomorrow night. We're back Saturday at 11. And then Trevor and I are working on Sunday. Sunday at 4. Who's on that show? Oh, Super Bowl appetizers are happening on that 4 o'clock show, guys.
Oh, yeah. It's a must.
Wings are coming on that show live. Coach, that's happening. Coach, enjoy LA. Get some sunshine. I know you're in that studio all day long, but get some sun.
Saturday, Gloucester's gonna be shaking with Connecticut Creighton at Creighton. I've been in that building. You know how it is going to Creighton.
Yeah.
All right, bud.
All right, Patric Young. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll talk to you